Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey Sister, how you doing?
Hey, sister. I am doing well. I'm doing well. Can't complain.
All right. Well, you can complain if you want to, because ain't nobody gonna listen anywhere, girl. So tonight, as you tune in, we want y'all to make sure you like, follow, share, subscribe, let folks know where you tune in and you catch Hey Sister on a regular basis. And we also want you to join the conversation in the comments this evening because we have a lot to talk about. As you can see, we are joined by our sister from another mister, our
Hey,
cousin. Hey, cousin.
hey, cousins.
So we are joined by Donna Marie. As you see behind her, it says Live Your Best Life. She is the curator of Best Life Travel and Best Life Wellbeing. And she is one of the primary reasons why we were able to pull off such a spectacular South African adventure. And so we wanted her to be on with us as we talk about some of the lessons we've learned from the motherland. That was not her first time being there, so she has other insights and other parts of the motherland she wants to. Now, we see North America and South America. Your head is covering up Africa behind you. Let's
Right.
see. Oh, yeah, there you go, right there. Hey, there it is.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, wait a minute. There we go. There we
Yes, yes. In the fleur de lis representing our motherland, the place of all of our birth in the state of Louisiana. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too as we dive in. But Donna, I want to toss it to you first. And I want to ask you, how did you even get into travel and creating these travel experiences for others?
I will say it started back when I was a military spouse. And actually it started because as a military spouse, I had lots of regret. I lived in Germany for 3 years and I did not see as much of Germany as I wanted to. I was there when the Berlin Wall came down, and though I ended up with a piece of the wall, I didn't travel much while I was there. Also, as a military spouse, I learned so much about my Louisiana culture from the people I was meeting as I was moving from one duty station to another. And so it started with me going back home to Louisiana and exploring there. I would say years later, I always had the desire to want to travel and meet friends all over the world. That's my core desire, to meet people everywhere and have friends all over. But then when I moved here to the Washington D.C. area, everybody I knew had a passport. Everybody I met had been to Africa. And it's like, now is my time to really step out of my comfort zone and to explore more. And so it started with me staying in my comfort zone by visiting 49 of the 50 states. And then, later just traveling internationally with people I met along the way. I became a member of many, many travel groups. The main one is the Nomadness Travel Tribe. Nomadness Travel Tribe is a group started by Evita Turquoise, who is a world traveler, and followed that group and then became a part of many other travel groups, particularly solo travel groups. And those Facebook travel groups, there's lots of information you can gain from the comments. There are people who are posting documents that provide information about how to navigate around the world. And then I was so encouraged by young millennials who are literally traveling everywhere with like just so much courage. And I just realized it was time for me to get on board. And as you know, as children, we travel together as a family. And so my initial goal was to travel with my family. It wasn't actually to create a travel business, but it was to create opportunities to travel with my family. And when I learned about Devil's Pool, which is on the tip of Victoria Falls in South Africa, that became my dream. And so the dream also incorporated me bringing my family with me to South Africa to get to Devil's Pool. But now, because only two people traveled with me on that trip, I'm going to continue to return to the motherland with as many family members as possible and as many people as possible.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that background. And listen, Seeing all 50 states is no small feat. We have not done that yet. My sister and I, we've talked about doing our driving across country as well. Something that is a goal for us as well. So that's no small feat. But I will say that, travel, like reading books, opens your mind and opens your world up to so many remarkable things. So I dropped in the comments there. When was the last time you explored your hometown? Child, we was just in our hometown. They got restaurants and things we didn't even know existed. Um,
Mhm.
and then do you have a passport? Because we do believe that really getting outside of this country gives you a greater appreciation for our country, but also a greater recognition of how much better we can be as well. At least that's my 2 cents. I don't know what y'all think about that.
I agree. I mean, we had the luxury and the pleasure and the opportunity and the blessing to visit South Africa this time. But one of the things, and I know we're going to get into lessons here, but one of the things that we know for sure is that Africa is a continent, not a country. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you think about, in comparison, landmass much larger than, I think, the largest continent. When you think about, here in North America, it's, primarily Canada, the United States, Mexico, and then you have, some other Caribbean countries and things like that. But when it comes to Africa, it's like we went to South Africa, but there are so many places, as we started to talk, that it's like there's so many other countries that we want to explore because they're very different. They're very different. Just like all the states of the United States have their own different flavor, then that's the expectation that we should have of the motherland. That every country is very different, and as we learn from South Africa, even the cities within the same country are very different. So
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop this little something I just pulled off the internet real fast here. Google is a wonderful thing sometimes. And this is from a site called Visual Capitalist. The African continent has a land area of 30.37 million square kilometers. So, and it goes into the number of square miles. It's enough to fit the US, China, India, Japan, Mexico, and many European nations combined. And we was just in one little piece in
Yep.
we were
the
just in
southern
one
part,
little piece,
right?
and we're only
And we didn't even get to explore that little piece because that little piece is the size of 3 Texases combined. And y'all know how long it take y'all to drive from one part of the side of Texas to another.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so little that we have been taught about any of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
teach
And
ourselves.
that's exactly why I think it's so important for me to bring as many people as I can with me to South Africa, to other parts of Africa. It isn't, a lot of people are afraid. Yes,
Mhm.
there's danger everywhere, but the images we see are not the images we saw when we were there. We saw
Right.
people enjoying life, living life. Cape Town is absolutely gorgeous. And so you felt sometimes like you were in the US, right? Because of how beautiful you felt, like you were on the coast of California somewhere. And so, yeah, it's so important just to see it for yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you are tuned in live to Hey Sister. If you're watching this in a replay, then welcome. Thanks for watching. Be sure to still join the conversation in the comments and then connect with us on our social media platforms. So let's just dive into it. What are some of the lessons from the motherland? We have a lot listed here, but the first lesson I want to throw out there is look, it's a vibe. The
Survive.
motherland is a vibe as a song. That's a vibe. It's a vibe. There's energy of the people. There's a rhythm to the country and the energy of even the of tourism, right? Like there's so much energy that you feel, and you just kind of get, you kind of like get into the rhythm of it. Hey, you in the rhythm of it, right? And so I don't know, I just felt a vibe right off the time that we landed in the airport in Johannesburg after a very long flight. Once we got into to the airport, it was like, hey, it was a vibe. And where we stayed in the Rosebank section of Johannesburg, you know, Johannesburg is like the size of Los Angeles. It's huge, and millions of people live there. And they have, it's just kind of like, oh, you got LA, you got Watts, you got South Central, you got Inglewood, you got you know, Orange County. It was just like that. Johannesburg, all the different areas we went to. So we were in the Rosebank area, which was kind of like, hey, a little swanky happening area. And it was just so awesome. I don't know what y'all think. Was it a vibe for you as much as it was for me?
Yeah, it was.
Absolutely a vibe. Yes, absolutely.
Go ahead,
It's
cousin.
a vibe. There were vegan restaurants, there were Indian restaurants, there it was an absolute vibe, and there were so many people. What I love most, I think, is that people in Africa or the South Africa where we visited really have such a sense of pride in who they are, the way they dress. I was told I could easily be spotted as an American because I was so casual in my attire. And so I just loved it. Was a yes, an absolute vibe, everything about it.
Yeah, it is definitely a vibe. To your point, it's a major metropolitan area. So Johannesburg is a major metropolitan area, and so all the things you expect to see in a major metropolitan area, you see it here in Johannesburg. And what I could appreciate very much, because my niece, who's very much a fashionista in her own right, she loved the fashions and the different styles. She wanted us to get our hair done there. We probably should have, but we didn't. Yeah, it's a major metropolitan area, and I like how you made it analogous to Los Angeles. With you have everything from Beverly Hills to Baldwin Hills, from Watts to whatever else, Melrose. There's every sort of representation, socioeconomic, different cultures of people. And that's, again, to me, something that is largely overlooked by the global community. Learning about the influx of Chinese people, Indian people, Jewish people, all these, in addition to what we know from a colonial standpoint, it's like, yeah, they have all of these cultures that are blended in this major metropolitan area. So certainly a vibe.
There was even a
Certainly.
Chinatown, right?
Yes.
Right. There was a Chinatown, there was a Jewish area, there was everything. The, Muslim, you name
Yeah.
it, they have it. And since you mentioned that word colonialism, sister, I'm gonna save that because I got to get to that a little bit. But I just
Okay.
want to talk about the welcome home.
Yeah.
Everywhere we went, there was a welcome home. Especially
I
when we
don't know
got
about everywhere, but
Certainly Sanctuary Mandela, huh?
Della,
absolutely,
yes,
when
for
we got
sure.
to Sanctuary Mandela, for sure was welcome home. But even that I felt that more when we were exploring Joburg and certain areas of Joburg,
Yes.
because as we drove around, I was like, this ain't nothing but Claiborne. This ain't nothing but Super Sunday. This ain't nothing but
Yeah.
like, I just felt like there was so many similarities in connection to our own experiences, and the way people gather, the way people are congregated, the way people were segregated and redlined, and put into certain areas. So it was definitely, and so some of the places we went, and people were very much like, welcome home. And you did feel like you were at home. I felt like I was at home.
For sure.
Yeah. So did
Yeah.
I. Back to the it's a vibe. Chrissy and I did a little shopping, and we had the opportunity to meet the designers of the clothes that were on the rack, and there were 5 items. I think they said they made five and they sold five of those. So you got like one of five of an original. And we took pictures with the designers. And so as far as it being a vibe and back to that pride, sense of pride in themselves, I just love the Black pride, the African pride that I experienced throughout our time there.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. You ever heard of sitting on chrome, rolling on chrome? Baby, South Africa is sitting on gold, chrome, platinum, and diamonds. Man, when we were told by our guide Jacob that really Johannesburg was on top of gold, like the city is a top of gold. And then as we drove out into other parts of the countryside, like, oh, that's a platinum mine. Oh, that's a chrome mine. And then when we got to Graph and saw all the diamonds that were mined, it was like, oh, ain't nobody here should be poor. At least that's what I'm saying. It's very interesting. And we'll talk about colonialism and the vestiges of colonialism because I think that's why things are set up the way they are. But man, the richness of the land. So when we watched Black Panther and Wakanda and the vibranium is in Africa. I just want y'all to know that.
Yeah, it is. Again, it with the gold, chrome, platinum, and diamonds. I think what is troubling is that, like you said, no, in effect, it very much made me wonder, so why is this not like, because we had a layover in Dubai, and Donna and I have visited Dubai separately before, and we know that because of the wealth created by oil, families that are there are receive certain amounts of money, and they do pretty well financially, and it definitely makes you question, so why is that not the case in a place like South Africa? And then South Africa, again, being only one country that has these sort of resources. So when you think about, and I know we're going to get to colonialism, but when you think about how much has been taken from the continent of Africa in terms of these resources, and that they still have resources, it's mind boggling that, again, there is not immense wealth in a lot of these areas.
Well, I'm just going to drop a link to an article because what's interesting. So, in this country, these United States of America, um, Alaskan residents
Right.
receive a dividend.
Yes.
They receive an oil. They have a
Oil.
permanent fund, and they receive basically it's an oil dividend.
But
Um,
Louisiana missed out on that. But carry on.
but why? So this is where we get into this conversation. It's like when you start asking, but the why? Because
Mhm.
Alaska has that. Other countries, like you said, some of the countries that are part of the Emirates, as you mentioned, Dubai, they pay their citizens. Other countries do, but I think a lot of it has to do with this drug called colonialism. Colonialism took so much and continues to take so much, starting right here between the ears, right? This thing between the ears. It's taken so much away in these systems that are supposedly better. Um, but I don't know about that. I do not know about that. So I don't know. What do you think about not only South Africa's addiction to colonialism, but our addiction to colonialism as a U.S. citizens as well?
Whew.
Wait, Chrissy, oh, thought she was frozen up there. Yeah, our addiction to colonialism. Yeah, I'm gonna yield the floor to you on that one, Christina.
I mean, what is the question? Why?
Right,
I just want
right.
to know about why we are so still so addicted to colonialism. So here's the thing. When we were preparing to leave for this trip, the weekend of my birthday, right? This is part of my birthday celebration. Um, there was also the I don't know what they call it, but the ascension of King Charles, right?
Mhm.
Mm.
And I'm wondering, why the hell is this even on our news? Like, why are we, didn't we fight a whole American Revolution to separate ourselves from this? But we still, in terms of kind of the societal structures, we're still holding on to this fascination of these vestiges of colonialism that
Well,
have
people don't
that
see
have
that
divided
as
us, that has separated us, that have created these hierarchies of power structure. I mean, it's like why are we holding on to it?
because it's been romanticized. I mean, people don't see King Charles, Queen Elizabeth, the entire family lineage. You know way more about it than I do because you watch The Crown, you watch these shows. Um, all they see is, again, they see you wearing a crown of gold and platinum, but not considering the bodies that were sacrificed in those mines in order for that crown to have gold and platinum. We love the fairy tale. I mean, we grow up on the fairy
Princess.
tale of a prince and a princess, right? And we don't think about, in order for these kingdoms to have emerged, there were a lot of people who died as a result. Um, Again, going to a place like South Africa and learning about the hundreds of years before the Dutch and the British arrived, there were plenty of other people who had been on to the shores of South Africa, who had been to Cape Town, and or before it was called Cape Town, there were indigenous people, and then there were others who came in as well, and yet hundreds of years pass. And then you have folks who say, I don't care that you all live here. I don't care about your customs. I don't care about how you make money,
That you've married, had
that
children,
you're married, had children. This is mine. I'm taking all of this. And now you can try to fight me off. And many times they did. They tried to fight it off, but they were fighting with, for lack of better words, primitive tools in comparison to people who have guns and other more deadly devices. So, but it's the idea that anyone thinks, even right now, as we see again what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, that anyone thinks that some place that is inhabited already with human beings can just be taken by force. It's a problematic thing. But yes, colonialism is a hell of a drug because nobody wants to be seen as the least amongst thee.
Right.
Everybody wants to have power. Everybody wants to have money. Um, yeah, that's it. And it's unfortunate because, again, when you even think about, so again, we know Johannesburg was sitting on gold, right? You think about the gold rush in the United States. There were people already living out there They call it the
Right.
Wild Wild West, and you just ran over and you put a stake in the ground, and that belonged to you. What? Like we said, Native people didn't believe, indigenous people in the United States didn't believe that you owned the land.
Mm-hmm.
The land was given to us, and all of us could utilize its resources, but not one person was supposed to hoard it or abuse it. And yet there's so many people who just felt like, oh, I don't care that you already here. I'm going yoink. I'm gonna snatch that right up from under you. So it is a hell of a drug, and I think ultimately it boils down to our human nature that says, for whatever reason, I gotta step on somebody's neck because I can't be at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's
I think it
trouble.
goes back to the original statement, like Demetria was saying, it starts here in our minds, and it starts with the fact that, not just in our minds, but we're brainwashed to think a certain way. We all are socialized to believe and think a certain way. And so to your point, Chrissy, yes, we none of us want to be at the bottom, and we feel like we have to step on someone's neck. With the Native Americans, I will say, yes, they understood that they were stewards of this land and that it didn't belong to them. And I just think it's important for us to really learn how to get back to that,
Absolutely.
because it is a hell of a drug. And how do you reverse this? It's how do you unlearn is the
Whew.
question for me.
Mm. Well, I know that one of the things, and this kind of goes along with this, gold, platinum, chrome, and this colonialism thing. And I'm just going to drop their website here. The Anglo American Mining Company has been around since 1917. And as you drive around certain parts of the city, you see Anglo American. I'm just going to drop that right there for you all. It is a company that is in London, if I'm not mistaken. Is its headquarters, the United Kingdom, but it is all over. They have multiple websites. Y'all go read about the Anglo American mining company, because that is in and of itself that the audacity to me, that even just the name is audacity. Like, we really gonna come here and we gonna mine this stuff, we gonna put you to work on land that
Right.
you already lived on, and we gonna say nope, it's ours, because we create laws to say that we now own it, and then we
Mm-hmm.
gonna put you to work on it and have all of these destructive practices to rape and pillage the land. Okay,
and
yeah.
and call it Anglo American because I don't want you to have any doubts about who's doing it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. But even though colonialism is a hell of a drug and all of that is happening, I will say this: Black America is the culture. If
Yes.
we have not learned anything about that ourselves, travel abroad. Um, our culture, from everything, style of dress, music, hair, everything is influence. Our influence is felt globally, and we definitely felt it. I don't know about y'all, but our culture is the culture.
Yeah, and well, I would say it's symbiotic. So in a way, so a lot of what we do here in the United States as African Americans, quote unquote, is influenced by African culture. Even when we think about our Black Greek lettered organizations, that's Greek letters, not Grecians, but whole nother story. But even in our the some of the things that we do from a Black Greek lettered organization standpoint, we can definitely see a lot of the same music influences, stepping and different things like that. We saw it for ourselves, and it was quite funny to see some of the things and say, oh, he looked like a Kappa. Oh, he looked like a Q, kind of thing. So it's definitely a symbiotic relationship. But I will say the things that are carrying over, yes, I mean, the more than anything, the success, right? Because there are African Americans who have made a lot of money in sports and entertainment. And those are the things that are being seen, and in a lot of ways are there's a desire to replicate that. They see that, okay, so these Black folks who have been held down and whatever, they're making it, they're surviving, they're thriving, they're doing things big, so we want to emulate some of that in ways. And so which in my opinion goes back to us being very responsible for what we allow to be out in the forefront. I often say about rap artists, I say you have the ear of the world. The whole world is listening. What are you saying? And I don't want degradation of Black women to be an export. I don't like that. I don't want the N word, and I heard it, but I don't want it to be an export. But when we watch our Netflix show, Young, Famous, and African, we hear it. Those are not the things we want to export. So it is definitely a symbiotic relationship, but we have to we have to be very responsible. We have to be more responsible because yeah, others are watching our every move.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Cousin,
Donna,
what do you think about that?
yeah.
I do believe others are watching, and as you were talking, I was just thinking that that's really why it's so important to travel.
Mhm.
Um, to get out. And the one thing I know for sure is everywhere I've been, I it confirms for me that I am African, that I am of African descent, that I am an African. I see New Orleans culture everywhere I go. And it's only 18 countries in 49 states, but I see I learn more about me as a
Mhm.
Black person, and my Blackness and my Africanness is confirmed as I travel. And so travel is very important. But yes, we do have a responsibility, and we don't even realize the influence that we have in others on others because we got trouble loving ourselves.
Mm. Absolutely. I think that's very, very powerful and enlightening. And I know that was, something else that you wanted to bring up, like, sister, as we talked about as we were going through, once we got to Cape Town and we were in the Langa Township, and they were talking about, they had Italians written on the, spray painted on the wall. And then they talked about the Americans and whatever, and these gangs, culture, um taken out basically from what they've observed and seen from our own culture and these affiliations. That was very, very interesting and enlightening. But it was also interesting and enlightening how they were like, no, in this area, in this township, the elders took care of that. Like the elders had to shut that down. And I think that's a lesson that we should never forget, of the power of elders. If they stand up and say, no, not on our watch, this is not going to happen. Are there,
Right.
there are terrible things that happen everywhere. Like, so yeah, we in our own American culture, the whole fascination with Tony Montana. It was like, why are y'all so fascinated with a Cuban immigrant, right? That was a fictional character in a movie, but we have a whole society built around Scarface, right? Like a whole cultural thing built around that, right? But others are watching, and we just need to be conscientious about what they're watching.
and become
Right.
more aware of that symbiotic relationship. Like we don't get it. We are truly one. And when I say that we have trouble loving ourselves, I don't just mean Black Americans, I mean all Americans. And so the world is watching all of us, not just us
Mhm.
Black folks. They're watching Americans, and we are globally, or not globally, but collectively, we are, what's the word? Entitled people. Like and that's what people see. Like Americans get it all. Americans, and so we do need to be more responsible as Americans. I think I was very, very grateful to know that I was walking through South Africa and I didn't have to worry about a mass shooting, right? I didn't,
Yes.
but because we are influencing, I was also thinking, I wonder how long. I hope that that doesn't infect other countries. But I was felt very safe knowing that I didn't have to worry about that. But knowing also that we influence others, I'm just hoping that does not rub off or continue in other parts of the country or the world.
Yeah,
Agree.
definitely, definitely,
Agree.
definitely. Let's see. We have a comment here from someone who was on a trip with us, Mr. Jeffrey Slum. It says, and the British had the audacity to control the buying price of gold, the power to buy at 23 cents an ounce, but sell it at hundreds of dollars per ounce. The true meaning of the okey doke. Yes.
Or the beginning of caucasity. The roots of caucasity.
The roots of caucasity. Oh my gosh. Okay, so another lesson.
But be clear like this. Okay, because I put some of the gang things,
Yeah.
not so y'all can go down a rabbit hole on gangs, but just to put it out there. And there's a Wikipedia site, and that's where I got these two articles from. But I just got to reiterate, this was an amazing trip. So I don't hopefully that part is coming across, because the food was incredible. We didn't even
Price of the food was incredible.
The price of everything was
everything
incredible.
was incredible. Wine was amazing. Just every animal that we saw, and to see so many animals in their natural habitat. And what I do respect, Donna, your cousin telling us about the baboons who just end up in your in your garage, or as in the case of you getting your food stolen by a monkey.
Right.
Right.
That's by the monkey.
that, that
I don't
but
know what kind of monkey it was, but he got you.
but he
He
got you.
got
But it was a reminder, though, that we are in their habitat, right? We
Yes.
are encroaching on their habitat. And so, yeah, this land is your land, this land is my land, but this land belongs to these animals. And watch yourself, in the words of Mystical.
No food, no relationship.
Yes.
That is what I want to tell you all. So we visited the elephant sanctuary.
Yeah.
On our way to Pilanesberg and our lodge there. And that was one of the things as we were getting ready to go and walk and
Interact.
touch
Yeah.
and be one with, as
Yeah.
he called them, the giants,
The
right?
gentle giants. Yes.
With those giants, he said, no food, no relationship. And basically that means if they're caretakers, they feed them as they're doing this tour. And if they're not there feeding them, or if you not feeding them, they don't have a relationship with you. So as you said, Mystical would say, watch yourself. And
Right.
sometimes our friend Timber, he liked us, but he didn't like us because I was like, okay, Timber, you're getting a little, wait, you're moving this way. And the man was
Right.
like, just relax. No,
Right.
because I can't mess with these elephants.
As they said, they are trained, but they are not tamed. And that's the
Right.
thing. So they are trained, and that training is based on the food, right? So no food, no relationship. That food is what they know that they are supposed to be here at this particular time. If you supposed to be touching them, you touching them. If you're not supposed to be touching them, don't touch them. If you don't have food, you don't have the relationship. Again, no food, no relationship. They are trained, but they are not tamed. These are still wild animals, which
Yes.
we watched as we came back and saw this woman the other day with the bison about to get herself all the way because she want to reach out and touch the bison. A, you don't have no food. B, you lucky that he didn't catch that. He caught the sweater, but you lucky that sweater came loose, girl. Then you got the nerve to try to run away and then trip down. You lucky he was just in a good mood that day. Stop playing with these animals, people. Stop playing with them. We thought our cousin was gonna get too close to.
Yeah.
Yes. I had to get close.
Well, you had the monkey go all up in your pockets and everything. Like you got one with the monkeys.
Yeah, I became one with the monkeys. That was an experience. That was, and I thought I would be nervous, but I wasn't. I was amazed. So amazed that I couldn't be nervous. But after I thought about it, it's like, okay, how clean are these things? And they're all over your hair and your shoulders. And yeah, then I had a reality check when it was over. But during it, it was great.
But I'm surprised you had. So I know we transitioned into the monkeys a little bit, but I am surprised that you didn't have a natural reaction to monkeys going into your pocket, because you know how it is. I mean, you're gonna flinch, you're gonna jump, you're gonna hit swat a hand. If somebody went in your pocket, you would swat their hand away. So
I
that
would
they
say
have.
just like with the elephants, the guides, they actually, I don't know if this was your experience, but when I was with the elephants, the guides helped me to feel very comfortable. They prepared you in advance. It was the same with the monkeys. There was a whole educational conversation before I actually interacted with them. And so by the time I did, I knew what not to do. So just
Gotcha.
like no food, no relationship with those elephants, it was very clear that you cannot pet or touch the monkeys. And so my arms were folded or my hands were not moving because I was instructed not to touch them or to pet them. They're not your friend. They made that clear.
Absolutely. And then so the thing is, so those were a sanctuary.
Right.
And then we
Yes.
go to Cape Town and we go to the fish market. In the sea lions, they just chilling. They
So
laying
fascinating.
there. They
Yes.
just laying back like this. But then people want to start acting like, okay, but do you see him raising up? I'm going over here. Okay. I was like, I'm getting back. I'm behind the van. I don't even want to be within 100 yards because he was up like this. He was doing like, hey, what you gonna do? The sea lions, the penguins. You all did the penguin. I was like, it was too rainy and cold for me. I had to chill out on the penguins. But the penguins were everywhere, and the baboons. They just were like, okay, what? The baboon is just walking across the street like he belonged here, but he do belong here. Like they
He
were
does.
everywhere. It was fascinating to see, and these are not in sanctuary areas. Like this was not within a contained environment. This was just
In a
on the
neighborhood.
street at the restaurant. Like what? That was amazing to me. That was fascinating.
That was amazing to me. I'm still trying to adjust to the deer here in the Maryland, DC area. I'm like, a baboon is a whole nother ball game.
For
Yeah.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. All right, let's see. All right. I I ain't gonna play Sunset Day out. Hey, if y'all don't remember that song from 1985 when they were boycotting apartheid, the artists united against apartheid. They came out with this song, and so we actually got to visit Sun City, the Sun City that is this huge resort built in 1979. And while apartheid no longer exists, there are remnants of apartheid. What we did see in Sun City, which I thought was beautiful, were just the locals and the natives going to hang out at Sun City for the day. It was Mother's Day when we were there, and people, they traveled, they, caught the bus or what have you, got the little cabs, came in, they were going to swim in the pools, to take in all the things that the Sun City had to offer. And I just thought that was so very fascinating to see, because I just kept hearing that song over in my head about we ain't gonna play Sun City, and it was a very popular song back in the 80s. So I don't know, what did y'all think about Sun City, and then seeing some of the remnants of apartheid as we were visiting that part of the country?
So I didn't quite. I mean, I kind of remember the song, but not. I didn't remember it until you like played it, and then it was stuck in our head. And, yeah. Then I felt a little guilty. Like, should I be going to Sun City? I mean, I know it's over, but I mean,
But
should
is
we
it
be playing?
over?
But yeah, should we be playing Sun City? Apparently, Boys to Men will be playing Sun City soon.
In
Uh,
November. That's right.
but yeah, it was cool, like you said, that there are so many local folks who were able to partake and enjoy. But also they so all the places that have these game drives and stuff, we didn't do the Sun City game drive, but they offer a game drive as well. I know Jeff was fascinated by the golf course, and
Yes.
and especially the relatively inexpensive cost to play, a round of golf on a beautiful course. Yeah, it was a great little place that we went to the mall and bought some little things to bring on back to the United States. But that song was stuck in my head.
Stuck in all our heads, yes.
Yeah.
And
But
I
it's just
wasn't familiar with
fascinating.
the song either. So it was, I'm glad to have learned that history and the song.
But I think it just is fascinating, like things that we have seen and are heard, and then being able to connect the real place, time, space with that
Yeah.
is always just fascinating to me. And so to see this huge resort, and I just can imagine, that it was built in like 1979, and all the artists went there. It was a big thing, but to protest against apartheid, this is what this group did, and it's just amazing, because apartheid still did not end till 1994. People, it still did not end till 1994. So from 85 to 94, that's almost a decade.
Mhm.
So it's like, wow. And then to see still this, the even in the language, the leftover vestiges in the language of the colors and the blacks and the Africans and the 1400 other classifications that they have. It's like, what? That don't make no sense, y'all. Stop it.
Right. Well, it doesn't. It literally doesn't make sense because
It's a lot.
it's I first of all, it reminded me. So just talking about the remnants of apartheid, it reminded me very much of when we study about the law in the Bible. It's like ain't no way you gonna get this right. It's just too many. It's too many remixes and changes and spins on the situation. There's no way you're gonna get this right. Um, I found it very interesting that they had what they call the dumb pass, or I forgot what the
The
actual
don't
term.
pass. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that that felt like, oh, so like in U.S. enslavement, you had to have your papers to prove that you were okay to be in certain places at certain times. They had this happening there. And while that doesn't exist today, because of the fact that so many people were made to move off of their land and they were pushed into these various tenements. Well, those places still exist today. They're still living in these communities because now it's home. It's our community. We've created community in these places and spaces where we were basically forced into. And that still exists. So you have areas that are still predominantly colored versus predominantly Black. And just, it's crazy because in the United States, the term colored has a whole different connotation, but it is still a term that is very much used in South Africa. And so, and of course, as you can see from, I don't know how to point whatever, these other two ladies, they would definitely fall into the colored section. There was questions about where I would fall, but it was just interesting because it's
How
like,
dare you?
but it was interesting because you have, hearing stories about families that were literally
If you put the pencil in my hair and I shake it, it won't fall out. I would not qualify as colored. Thank you very much.
it was just very interesting because like with this, my sister, my cousin, and it's like we probably couldn't walk down the street together, things like that. It's crazy. And again, even though that doesn't exist and we know that apartheid only ended 29 years ago, the language, a lot of the language is still there. And if the language is still there, back to that whole thing about colonialism, if the language is still there, it's still here. And if it's still here, then it's very dangerous because it can happen again. And
as we see things resurfacing here in the United States of America.
Right. And we see, and we know that they copied Jim Crow and practices during enslavement, U.S. enslavement. They copied those practices and brought that into South Africa under apartheid. So as things continue to deteriorate here in the United States, again, others are watching what happens.
For sure. Well, the other thing we want to talk about a little bit, y'all tuned in live.
I don't know if Donna had something to say about that. I'm sorry.
Y'all watching live, if you tune into the replay later, this is live. Hey, sister, we're talking about our lessons from the motherland. We just got back from an amazing experience and trip that was curated by our cousin here, Donna Marie of Best Life Travel, and she is curating other experiences. So if you're interested in an experience, or you want someone to curate an experience for you, check her out on social media at bestlife_travel. Yeah, let's talk about the hustle.
It's real.
The hustle is real. I love it. My favorite of all was the Ghetto Love car wash. I'm just saying. You had to take that picture and get a love car wash for me.
Yes, we did.
And so there were car washes, there were hair salons and shops, eateries, just right at the front of somebody's home. They built this structure right at the front of their home. And you had people, again, if you've been to New York, if you've been to New Orleans, if you've been to Los Angeles, and they run up to you with that bag of oranges and fruit on side the road when you're driving through, or they run up to like clean your windshield. I mean, the hustle is the same, baby. The hustle is the same everywhere. That's all I know for sure. Yes, Ghetto Love car wash, baby. It was, and they wash their cars now. Now, see, that is something clearly that that is in the DNA because they wash them cars on a regular. And I guess because if you're driving up and down a lot of these roads and roadways, it's dusty.
Mm.
But you have a little awning and it's dusty and you just walk and they washing the cars. And I was like, well, okay, yeah. I don't know. That was my favorite. I don't know. What was your favorite thing to see as you saw people hustling? I mean, people
Go
were
to Donna first. Go to Donna first.
they were walking up to your window like, here's a turtle. Wait, why are you trying to give me a turtle, sir? Like a turtle. A bag of oranges, a bag of lime. We had, water. Like if you ever go anywhere in the States and it's a hot day, people run, they go, they buy their big things of water and they selling you those bottles of water. Honey, they were selling us the water. I was like, what? We the same. I don't know, Donna. What you think about the hustle? We hustle hard everywhere.
Yeah, we hustle hard everywhere, and the hustle is real. The one thing that always stood out to me there, and I saw it in Haiti as well, is live chickens. And the chickens are like tied together so they can't get away. And you can go and just buy your own live chicken. Like that just blows my mind. You're hanging out on the street all day with these chickens.
Mm-hmm.
At your chicken hustle. Yes.
Yes. I was not prepared for the turtle either. This I was not prepared. But they had the little baby turtles. I was like, okay. And you could see they had them. They had their water supply for them to keep them moist, so they could just come up to your window with a turtle. I don't know.
I hope whoever purchased the turtle had the right supplies in their car. I will say this. So Soweto, Southwestern Township. Soweto is absolutely about the hustle and the grind, and props to every single person. First of all, clearly, I'm just gonna say I clearly look like somebody that could get
She
hustled.
rich. She look rich, y'all. That's what she looked like. She
No,
looks
I'm
like money.
not saying
And
I
y'all
look
know
rich.
she's money. Look at her. Look at her right there, looking
I,
like money. With all the
I
books
must
behind
look.
her and that TV on the wall, looking like money.
I must look gullible because I got out of the bed. Everybody else was out of the bed. Maybe because I got out on the side of the street and you all got out on the side of the sidewalk. I got out. Them brothers came over there and immediately put on a performance. And I was just like, and then a lot of Rihanna under my umbrella.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And I was just like, and then we just.
And you look like Rihanna.
I absolutely do not. Not, that has never been said ever in life, other than them singing Rihanna's song. And then I'm like, of course I don't know how much to tip. Some probably, I don't know. Am I giving too much? Am I giving too little? Who knows? But it was like they were in their tribal attire and they perform but they're singing Umbrella. But then you go, and we were trying to visit Nelson Mandela's original home in Soweto, and then it's like, hey, you want to buy this cap? You want to buy this shirt? Come on, get this. And it was like, y'all, I done already gave all my money away. Please. And then we get finished with that, come because they waiting when we get out of the tour.
Like double Dutch.
Right. They were waiting. And then we walk down the street to Desmond Tutu's place. And then there's a guy who comes over and he just listening like, let me make sure y'all tour guide telling y'all the right stuff. What'd you say now? What did he? It was like, okay, thank you, sir. For and then the Soweto, what are they? The acapella tribe,
Yeah.
acapella group. Then they sing a whole. They serenade us. It was like, yo, we're not gonna get out of here without spending $1 million. Like they are like on it, and it's great though. It's great. It's like, you know what? Obviously, if I had the opportunity to give something to every single person, I would have. But they all about the hustle and the grind. I think Chef Posey, is that how you pronounce it? Chef Posey. The fact that so there are these towers that I believe were, I don't know if they were forming a nuclear or
Oh,
just coal. Okay, coal plant, the remnants of a coal plant, and they've converted them into restaurants. And one is a restaurant, and one is like a corporate uh, team building place where you can bungee jump off the side of these towers and you can
go
do
rope course.
rope
Yeah.
course and all of those things. I think that is an awesome example of the hustle because they saw something that once it was out of use, it could have just been an eyesore. And instead now it's a symbol of resilience. It is a tourist attraction. It is great for photography. And obviously, they have corporate activities there too. So I think that is a great example of the true hustle.
And I dropped their website so y'all can take a look and you can scroll down and you can see all the delicious bride that we were able to partake there because they had the best South African bride, which is nothing but a South African barbecue. And we like to barbecue everywhere we go, y'all. And it was delectable, and I know they was like, I know my sister was like, how they go? I don't know how long they cooking that meat over there, honey. That meat was cooked to perfection. Perfection on that bride. It was delicious. Um, and we didn't even talk about all the food. So I know we're at our time, but cousin, like you said, you are a flexitarian, mostly plant based meal, and you were able to eat everywhere we went.
Right. I also have a gluten allergy, and I was able to eat everywhere we went, even when I didn't remember to ask about the gluten content, what was in my food, and I didn't get sick. Um, Sometimes gluten makes me sleepy, so that may be when I fell asleep on the safari, maybe I had a little gluten, but I really didn't have any real negative the food didn't have any negative impact on my stomach, my digestive system, like everything was functioning. Now, obviously, when you're not working and the stress is relief from your life and you're able to just enjoy, that has an impact as well. But like you said, this wasn't my first time in South Africa, and the food, it tastes clean. Like, and as I stated already, there were vegan restaurants. We were able to get our green juices in the morning. We were able to incorporate those veggies when we could, but none of what we ate bothered me. And I was very amazed.
Mm-hmm. What
Yeah.
about you, sister? Because there's so many places that we went. I gotta put it. I'm trying to put them all up here. Obviously one of our favorites was the Yeovil Dinner Club with
Yes.
Chef Sansa, and
Sansa.
shout out
Yes.
to Sansa. I'm gonna drop that there as well. His Instagram so you all can follow him.
And
And
what's the name of the joint that we went to in, I can't remember where it was.
Atapata.
Yes, Pata Pata.
My
So
favorite was the Seaford restaurant where I don't know the name of that one, but maybe it was
Seaport?
Seaford
Yeah, that
restaurant.
was
Seaport
Yeah.
was in Cape Town. I'm gonna drop that too.
Sorry,
but
you off.
Pata Pata, because I love that as well because again, clearly uh what was it? Cow's head.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? A cow's head. And we
Mm-hmm.
were like, oh, that ain't nothing but some neck bones. It tastes like some neck bones, but Pata Pata was great. Yowville Cafe Dinner Club was great. I mean, like, well, I'm saying great. That's like underestimating it.
Right.
Great is
It really
underestimating.
everything was superior.
Yes,
Jeff said that ostrich was all that.
yeah.
It tastes
It was superior,
delicious.
and um and of course, I mean, we haven't even gotten to this part. It's so many things. It's like we need a part two, a part three, but Sanctuary Mandela. I just want to go and live there. And
I
that's
do
the
too. When they welcome you home, you feel at home.
I should have said thanks. Let me find my room.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yes, there are. Sanctuary Mandela was phenomenal. I'm trying to drop all the things. The wineries that we visited were phenomenal.
Yes.
Um
Babylon Store. I just like
Babylon Store.
Babylon Store. Babylon Store and Graph. What is it? The Lair Graph.
The Lair
That
Graph.
was great. Yes. Everything was
Yes.
so amazing. The weather was amazing. So May is an absolute good time to
Wonderful
visit.
time.
We
Yes.
had rained one day, and that rain was on the right day. Like it
Yes.
nothing, we had no rain on any other day. Absolutely everything was perfect. It was divine. It was beautiful.
It was. It was Demetrius Jubilee, and honey, we jubileed. We went
Yes.
We
from
do
the
believe. And
ta-
so,
Table Mountain at the top and all the way down to the Cape of Good Hope and just beaches, and we saw it all. It was wonderful, y'all. I don't want to as I know we started this conversation talking about a lot of the other stuff that may have sounded a little less desirable, but it was a most wonderful trip. And
I
I
hope it wasn't less a lot not desirable. I think the main thing is these are lessons, and I think
yeah,
life lessons, things that really made you be more introspective, self-reflective, and also appreciation. And there was so much appreciation for our ancestry, our ancestors, and the influence of our ancestry and ancestors on this entire world, because we
mhm,
Yes.
have been other places. So we've been in the Caribbean, you've been in European countries, multiple. I've been to Greece. And the truth is, everywhere you go around this globe, just as well, where the Africans were, where did they bring the Africans? And you're going to find a piece of us there, and you're going to see how we are so similar everywhere we go.
yeah,
Everywhere we go. And there is a systematic desire to try to erase that
Yeah.
influence. But like I said, how can you erase the influence when you could fit almost like 7 countries into it? How about that?
how can you erase the influence when we know that the original man and original woman are from the continent of Africa? And let me just say this. I don't normally just be taking notes on a trip, but yes, I have a plethora of notes of things that I just have to go back and learn and investigate and know more about just because, which,
Right.
doesn't always happen. But yeah, we are all over and we have influenced this entire globe. And it's disheartening to me. It's disheartening to me when we go places, and not only do folks try to underestimate the influence of Africans, but you see them in many places that I've been, like, again,
Try to diminish that
they are
influence.
diminished, and they
Yeah.
work really hard, and they are trying to make better lives for themselves in any place we step foot on. And the fact that people, even in this country, we want to be everything but African. We
Hmm.
want to pull out how every percentage of and I'm not hating on nobody else. I'm just saying we want to pull out every percentage of our Native American ancestry. We want to talk about being of mixed ancestry. We want to talk about, where my great grandfather was white. It's like I we are, like you said, Donna, we're African. And that should be something that we should be
And
proud
that's more than enough.
enough.
That's
How
Exactly.
about that?
More than enough.
Well, anything you all would like to say in closing as we get ready to wrap up this episode of Hey Sister? It has gone by extremely fast. we have made a commitment to our friend Jacob, who was our tour guide. His company is Explore Joburg. We said, Jacob, we're gonna do a recording because the time zone right now. Let's see what time is there.
It's 9 hours ahead of me, so whatever that is, 6 hours ahead of you.
Yeah, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning there. So we're not gonna make him get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But we're gonna do a recording so we can have someone from
3:10 a.m. in Johannesburg. Sorry.
Oh, you have it on your phone. Is to share more, because I think is nothing like actually hearing from someone who it's their lived experience, but also as part of his his profession, a part of his hustle is sharing his experiences with us. And I think it was a beautiful thing. And so we want to have Jacob on, as well as some others that we have to Namcla that we have to follow up with from Langa Township. We made a commitment to kind of support them as well. So there was just and a good thing, y'all, is the dollar is strong. There, the dollar is very strong. Yes. So yeah.
I just want to say about Jacob is a professional. We talk about hustle, but he takes what he does so seriously. And even when we were at the prison at Constitution Hill, the guy there, I just love the fact that they are experts and they are patient and they really seem to love watching other people enjoy their culture or teaching about the culture. And that's what I saw throughout the designers at the shop where we were in the mall, Christina, the Africans, even when we were in Soweto, and the people were dressed in their tribe clothes, and the acapella group, they take such pride, and I don't know if I'm just romanticizing it because I'm just so grateful that I get to go to Africa, but it just seems that there is such a different level of pride in self and my country and me as a Black person and you as an American, understanding who I am and that we are one. I just love that about what my experience, and totally obviously love Jacob so much so that I had to tell him, and y'all know that.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, sister, what do you want to say in closing?
I want to say in closing that there was so little that I had learned growing up about the continent of Africa. Of course, the images that we saw were very limited. Usually they are derogatory in that they are representing a people as if they are lowly, as if they were animals or beasts or savages. Or on the flip side of it, it was as if everyone was starving and dying of starvation. And, even when we have statements that we make, like, eat all your food. You know how many kids are starving in Africa, sort of thing. And to experience this South Africa, again, only one country of many that I'd love to see, to have this experience at this time of my life. It was much needed. I went into it knowing that it would be life changing and a life affirming, and it has been. And I absolutely can't wait till I have the opportunity to go again. The myths, and I have to only call them myths based on my experience, and maybe something else will show me different. But as far as today is concerned, the myths that African people don't like African Americans I did not experience that. Like you said, I experienced all love. When we went to Sanctuary Mandela and they said those words, welcome home, I genuinely felt like I was at home and could stay there. And I think that's something that we all said, we could live there. So yes, I encourage everyone, if you have an opportunity before you close your eyes, yes, it's a long flight, but please take voyage back to the motherland. You won't regret it, especially if you have a wonderful planner like our cousin Donna Marie, and a great host like Jacob. And shout out to Brad too.
Yes. Shout out to Brad.
Yeah. Well, with that, y'all, we're going to sign off tonight. We thank you for tuning in. We had some lessons from our motherland, but we're going to save that for another time because we're already over time for the night. But
Yes.
love and peace, everybody. Love and peace. Good
Bye.
night.